Hi, Bob Bartlett here with the Ubuntu Fly Anglers Network and iFishiBelong, and the host of our podcast series, On the Reel. This podcast is coming to you from eastern Washington State and the ancestral lands of the Spokane Confederated Tribes. For those of you who are not familiar with us, we are a small group of black and brown fly anglers, environmental activists, and educators from across the country and Canada. This podcast is consistent with our mission to make visible folks like us who live the outdoor life. It is an attempt to get real with our guests on matters that mean the most to them as black and brown folks who are environmentalists, educators, and environmental activists. I'm really excited about today's guest. Today's guest is someone I've been wanting to meet in person, to hang out with and to fish with for the longest time. He's a Southern California fly angler, and he's not new to many of you. But please welcome to the show, Lino Jubilado.
Jubilado. Oh.
Jubilado. Did I just ruin that for you? I'm sorry.
That's okay. No,
I,
it's
I,
fine.
I, I go back to this. I want to say it in Spanish instead of okay. Uh, so to welcome to the show, Lino, and we have a lot of mutual friends, you and I, and
Yes,
you know Mark Fritt
absolutely.
from here. You took him fishing. Mark Fritt's a good friend of mine. We
Oh,
just sat
yeah.
on the deck at my house yesterday and spent some time. And of course, you fished with Heather and Annalisa, and
hmm
the list goes on. But you and I have never met in person. We're even a part of a team, Fly
Hard
Fish
to
Instruct.
believe. Hard to believe. I mean,
It's
I've
hard to
never
believe.
touched with you before, but
it's
you,
it's crazy, but we'll make it happen. And I'm
yes,
really anxious to
absolutely.
come down and fish the LA River with you someday.
There you go. Good.
So how's life down your way? What's going on in LA? It seems it's on the news every night.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in LA. Now, they just had raids at MacArthur Park, and I wasn't. Everyone, when that happened, sent me messages wanting to know if I was there or not that fishing that day. But I was not. I wasn't there. But I did go afterwards, and luckily all of that chaos didn't affect the fishing.
My goodness. Well, leave it to LA if you're not having fires or floods, or now you've added another element to
Something's going on.
what it
Yeah,
means to live in LA or anywhere
that's
close.
right.
Um, so, Lena, let me just ask, what's your story? What's your family story, and how did you end up in the City of Angels?
I was actually born in East LA,
Awesome.
and yeah, I was born in at a hospital Kaiser over in LA, and grew up in East LA and moved to Alhambra, which is just touching LA when I was 5. And I went through the entire school system there, from Fremont Elementary to Alhambra High School,
Wow.
um, eventually going to Cal State LA, and then ultimately get my master's at USC. So I've been in LA all my life,
Your whole life.
my whole
Carl's
life.
Carl Crawford, one of our mutual friends, he's been there
hmm
his whole life as well, right?
Yeah,
You didn't happen to cross paths in high school and play against one another, run against
may
one
have, but no.
another. You know, talk about that. Like, were you on the track team or 19? Uh, so where do you live now? Do you
I'm
still?
still in Alhambra.
Wow.
Yeah, I haven't left. Yeah, I haven't left. I moved twice, but both times we were in Alhambra.
Dang on, man. That's awesome.
It's a beautiful city. It's a great city. I have all my family and friends there or close by there. So it's really difficult to move anywhere else just
A-
because of family and friends.
Absolutely. I know
Yeah.
I totally can relate to that. My wife and I moved to Spokane, Washington 37 years ago, thinking we'll only be here a few years. And we're going to move
Right.
on. It was 37 years ago. And we raised our 4 children here, and now we have 6 grandchildren. So, yeah, we're not going anywhere.
No, right. That's
You and I
the
are
way it
both,
is.
we're roots people. How about that? You and
Yes,
I.
that's a good way to put it.
So, what do you do when you're not fishing? And by the way, thank you so much for giving up your time, because I know you would rather be standing calf deep in the middle of someplace doing.
Oh gosh, no, it's not a problem at all. It's been a crazy week. I have an 11-year-old daughter that really that's my part-time job. I'm an Uber driver for my daughter. I mean, she's involved or been involved in so many different
uh,
things. Equestrian and volleyball. Right now, volleyball is the thing. But ice skating, all of the camps, piano, I mean, you name it, it just goes on and on and on. Um, but it's a balancing act, which is
Sure.
interestingly, I just finished doing a speaking tour. It
Yeah.
was called stripping the herbs, and it when putting the presentation together, I realized that, my gosh, 90 to 95% of my time is spent urban fishing. Why is that? It's because trying to juggle fishing and family, that's all I have time for. And I'm a weekend warrior to top it all off. So I don't travel very often to fly fish. So, but I am going to Hawaii in a couple of weeks. My wife knows that no matter where we travel, there has to be a fly fishing component attached to that, because she knows I need to do a little some fly fishing no matter where I go.
That's awesome. Yeah. My wife is the same way whenever I have a trip. Like, for example, the mopping trip I was telling you about earlier.
Yeah.
I didn't expect her to go. I was going to just have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and sleep in the back of my truck. And she said, well, I'll go. And it's like, uh-oh. So that meant an Airbnb with air conditioning, hot tub. So, but yeah, it's going to involve river time, uh, for sure, no matter what we do. And it's awesome to be able to do it with family, because that's
Yes.
that's
Yes,
really
it
what
is.
matters. And it's interesting you're talking about how busy your daughter was. When I had a chance to hang out with Annalisa, it was graduation
I
for
know.
her son, and so she said, I need to go because I need to get my son dressed and get on to the graduation. So, having raised four children, and our youngest is now 36, um, it's a I think I mentioned to her, we need to enjoy every phase of raising our children, because
Yeah, I agree.
someday you will look around and you'll be looking at as I often have done, looking at a grandchild going, I, it was just yesterday I was driving your mother everywhere. Or you see them on the soccer pitch and you go, it was just yesterday when I was coaching your uncle or So enjoy, even though sometimes it's kind of crazy, and it's part of it, and it'll go
It is.
quickly, and then you'll be like, okay, now what do I do with all my time?
I'll
You know,
branch out from urban fishing. That's what I'll do.
there you go. Start fishing the Sierras and
There
exotic
you
places.
go.
Coming to Spokane, Washington, fishing the
Hmm.
Pacific Northwest. There.
Yeah. Then we'll be able to fish finally.
Well, I know that you were at one point in your life a evolution. Maybe I should change it. Evolution. A serious bass angler.
Yeah, it was
A
a big part of my life.
competitive, serious one that has won awards. you,
Well,
for
it
your
definitely consumed me. That's for sure.
Yeah, but you were at one time recognized as Bass Angler of the Year. That's serious, bro. You were in it. Tell us about that. What was that like, and how did
Well,
that
it
all get
was.
started?
Yeah, it was. There was a local organizations that put on bass tournaments, their team tournaments. And I did every circuit there was: American bass, lawn bass, national bass, every circuit there was. Mind you, I wasn't married at the time, but
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
I
then.
did them. I did them all, and did very well. Got a lot of sponsors. Won a lot of money, but it was just it really was a big part of my life, and I learned so much from competitive fishing. In fact, during my seminars, I always try to encourage people to get involved in some sort of fly fishing competition, because you are forced to focus more. You're going to be fishing differently than if you're just recreating. That's for sure.
Sure, absolutely.
You're not going to be lazy about retying your knots and checking your line. You're not going to be lazy in changing flies, and you're going to fish differently. Um, and so, yeah, I did that for many, many years and traveled a lot. And then I got married. In the beginning, it was all support, but then being away every weekend, and it was tough. It was tough. And so I realized it, and I had my run, and that's actually when I decided I'm going to go 100% fly fishing, and I literally gave all of my conventional gear away. I do
Wow.
some conventional now, like surf fishing. But other than that, I don't do any conventional stuff anymore.
So do you miss it at all?
Not really, not really, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And people laugh at me because I call conventional gear cheat sticks because that's what it is to me. It would be cheating if I picked up a conventional spinning rod or a bait caster. I feel like it would be cheating just because there's so much more into fly fishing than casting the gazillion lures they have nowadays that
Mm-hmm.
fish can't even tell the difference between something that's alive and
Mm-hmm.
fake, an artificial.
Yeah.
So the industry's come a long way. It's so wild.
You remind me. I People who know me well know that I'm a streamer junkie, and so
Mm-hmm.
I've that's all I do. I throw big streamers, right? I'm a product of Kelly Gallup School of Streamer Fishing and Daniels and others. And I don't know if you know this, but one of the things that particularly Gallup talks about for people who streamer fish is you can tell a really good streamer fisherman by the fact that they were a competitive or a bass angler before they became a fly angler. So you
Oh,
can tell
interesting.
the difference because as you know, when you're working a big topwater or something, you're working your rod tip. And he said one of the things that drives him crazy is to watch someone who claims to be a streamer person just stripping straight back. They're not using their rod for any action.
That's right.
So I've often thought about that. And when I talk about streamer fishing, I always reference bass anglers know how to be streamer anglers. It's almost a natural thing
Yeah.
because they let the rod tip do the work, right? So that's really interesting, and maybe that's why you're so daggum good at it. That's what I'm going to say. You're good
Well,
at.
I definitely have to say though that starting off that way, conventional gear
Yeah.
has 100%, translates over to being a good fly angler because I mean, just through competitive fishing, conventional. Now, mind you, I did fly fish while I was tournament fishing as well. I always had a fly rod. The only problem is you had a length restriction on your rod, so my fly rod was only 7.5 feet, which limited me.
Whoa.
Yeah, but anytime I needed a really small bug, I'd pick up that fly rod during the tournament and I'd use it. So
That.
it's helped me put together some pretty decent weights
How
over the
did
years.
how did you well? How did you get started in the fly? Was it the spinning that got you into fly, or did you meet someone one day and said, "Hey, Lino, did you ever try one of these?"
You know what? When I was very young, my dad used to take me to these outdoor shows in the convention centers. And there was a gentleman demonstrating how to fly fish in the middle of the arena. And I was standing there wondering what the heck this guy was doing. And he looked down at me and he said, "Hey, get up here." So he actually called me up on the stage
Wow.
and put a fly rod in my hand and I started learning how to fly fish. And I've been hooked ever since. I've been hooked ever since. My dad, after the show, I remember telling my dad, I gotta get a fly rod. I gotta get a fly rod. But he not only got me the fly rod, but he got me the fly tying kit, and that's how I got into fly tying. So it was like a combination of the two.
That's that.
Yeah, that's how I got into it, and that was I had to have been I don't know 10, maybe even younger than that. But I remember that day. I remember worried about hitting people when I was trying to do my backcast, and but I think I did pretty well. But that's how it all started.
I always find it interesting to hear people's story about how they started fly fish. There's some crazy, amazing stories out there. Some, like you, just kind of accident. Happen to be in the right place at the right time. You know, Everyone has their own story about how they got into it. But what's interesting about it? Just about everyone that I know, anyway, once they started, they've never stopped, and they're much older than I am, and they've never wavered. They were, as we say, they totally hooked, right? That fly fishing is their life. It's what changed their life forever. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. You just happen to show up at an event and Here we are right now at this point in
That's
time.
right. Exactly.
So what do you consider then your? I think I know the answer to this one, but what your home waters? What do you consider to be your home water or waters?
I would say I would say any the Pacific Ocean. You know,
that's
um,
that's a big one.
that's a big one. No, but I do the surf a lot. But any urban hotspot around LA, I would say within a half an hour drive from my house. Most of the spots that I go to, like Santa Monica, for example, which I frequent, is 20 minutes from my house. Um,
Wow.
and I have a boat as well, and I'll jump on my boat and head to Catalina Island and fish, locally. Not as often as I do urban stuff, but um, I definitely like to do it all, and I've done that all my life. I've had a boat all my life. I've been blessed to have a boat all my life. A bass boat that I've had since I was 16, and then now I have a boat that I can go and either fresh or saltwater, and it's a lot of fun.
So you just have endless possibilities down there.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
There are a lot of opportunities in living in LA, and it's
yeah.
amazing.
I watched a video of you with Heather and Carl and Annalise. I think you hiked an area closer to her house, I believe.
Yes,
From,
and Lisa's house, right? And Lisa can get to this spot in 15 minutes. It's 40 minutes from my house to the parking lot, but still, the fact that I can target native rainbows is mind-boggling. I'm so close to LA. I mean, it's really something special. I mean, we're I think 11, 12 inches would be a trophy, but these are some really fun native rainbows that you can catch on dry flies all day long. I mean, 20, 30 fish days easily.
yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Well, hold on to it because I'll get down there eventually.
Oh,
So what do you have a particular method? Like, some people are dry fly people, some people are nymphers, some people are streamers. Do you have a preference or just whatever it takes to catch a fish?
pretty much whatever it takes. I don't, as crazy as it sounds, even though I'm a fly angler, I don't really target trout too often. I pretty much target, like bass and carp. I hit the surf and I try to hit all of those species. All of the flies I use are patterns that I've sort of developed. Um, and a lot of the lures, like the ones that I use for bass, a lot of the flies that I tie they actually mimic other lures rather than actually matching the hatch, if that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Again, that's tying in because I remember there were a lot of lures that I used to use while bass fishing that worked so well on bass that I'm like, wait a second, I got to try to make a fly that mimics that lure, and it's a crappie jig, a little crappie jig.
Sure.
And then I did, and so now that I've caught my biggest bass on this little fly that I call a skunk buster, and it worked so well that I decided, you know what, I'm going to modify it a little bit and add dumbbell eyes to it, and try it in the surf, and it took off on the surf as well. So I pretty much using a version of the fly I created back in the early 80s, and I'm catching so many species with it. It's amazing.
So you're yeah, that is crazy. So your favorite fish to pursue then, would you say, is bass or
I have
carp?
carp is probably the one I target the most. Carp is probably the one I help other people catch than any other species.
Yeah, yeah.
But bass is a very close second, and it has a very special place in my heart, just because of my experience competitive fishing. But I tell people that while I'm carp and bass fishing, there are a lot of collateral catches I catch. Unexpected catches like tilapia, koi. There's a lot of urban stuff species that float around out there that end up on your line, and it's great.
I've noticed. I always click on your pictures and excited to see what you're doing. And I've noticed that some of the pictures you'll have a trout in the fishing local. I don't know if it's MacArthur Park or some other place, but there'll be a trout in one picture, a bass in at the same place, and then a 4-pound or bigger carp.
Yeah. It happens. It happens. I mean, that's LA for you.
Out of a,
You know, they stock trout in the winter and catfish in the summer. And there's that in May or March through May, there's a crossover where they're stopping the trout plants, but catfish starts. So that little area in there, you'll catch everything. You'll catch the carp, trout, and the bass. It's amazing.
not only is Los Angeles a very diverse cosmopolitan place for people, even its water. Uh,
Right.
that's pretty. That's pretty amazing. That's unusual, sort of.
Yeah.
I don't know. Mark Fripp might argue that no, that's Chicago. That's other places that I've never been or ever fished. But your go-to place is not far from your house. I've seen you. I've seen you standing in the L.A. River a few times catching big carp as well. I think, when Heather came down, you had to work really hard to get her on a carp, if I remember.
It took her, I think, 3 visits to finally get her carp. Um, but she got it. She got it done, like I knew she would. Um, but it's not that easy, like people think. Even though I have so many pictures of folks with the first LA River carp that I've helped, but it's some people get lucky and others have worked at it, like Heather.
Yeah, there's a species that you mentioned that I only remember catching as a kid with bait, but I've seen you catch them with a fly, and that's catfish.
Oh yeah,
I've never. Well, we don't have catfish, but that's unusual to me to see catfish, particularly as big as I've seen you catch, on a fly.
yeah. It's common in the urban spot lakes that they stop. It's a very common thing
But
to catch them on the fly.
catfish are a benthic species, right? They're not. They don't. Do they look up that often, or are you just going down to where they are?
No, I mean if they see something that looks like food, they'll eat it.
They're going to jump it. Huh?
Yeah, I mean all even though they're primarily scent feeders, they can see very well, so they'll sight fish just the same. So, but
Huh.
yeah, I'm truly blessed. I always try to do a surf and turf slam. So I start off on the surf to catch a saltwater species, and then I'll fly inland like to MacArthur Park to catch a freshwater species, and that's how I like to challenge myself. When I'm on the clock, because sometimes I fish until my wife calls me and says, "Come home." Um, and other days it's like I can be done, and I can have a saltwater species and a freshwater species, and before 10 a.m. and my wife and daughter are still in bed when I get home, and that's the way I love it because it's a good balance.
Do you ever run into Carl when you're in the surf, or do you guys
Yes,
ever?
yes. In fact,
Carl goes there.
I went to Ventura and we ran into him over in Ventura. I was fishing with my buddy Bernard, and I go, "Oh, I know that form. That's got to be Carl." I could tell, and I was a good couple hundred yards away. And I could tell his form. Like that looks like a Carl cast.
That's crazy. Well, again, I have lots of reasons to come to LA. Matter of fact, when Carl came up last year and we all met here, the Ubuntu Fly Anglers group met here. At first, I had to sell it because like they're saying, "Well, come down here," let's for a lot of reasons. But I said, "Well, let's try this one, and someday we'll get down to LA as a group, where we move all of our leadership team and come down." But I hope to
That'd be
hit it.
fun.
I hope to hit it before then. And Mike says he'd take me into the Sierras if I ever get down there as well, because I know that's where he likes to go. But I think I've got your species nailed, and I think I've got your technique figured out that you've shared with everybody. One of the things I noticed, though, and again, I follow you maybe too closely. You might think I'm stalking you. I'm not really. I just want to learn from you. But I noticed that you like to get out a tenkara every once in a while.
Oh, I do. When I target trout specifically, especially the native stuff, oh, I won't need a fly rod. Some people don't even realize sometimes I have 3, 4 tenkaras with me when I go, and it's because they're telescopic, and so they're in my pack. I just in case one breaks, you gotta be careful with those really sensitive rods. But I mean, I've landed bass and carp with those things. So there's a lot of you can land some big fish with tenkara.
You're gonna have to My struggle, even with I like to trout spay, and you've got 11.5 foot or longer rod. Landing a fish gets to be catching them is not as much of a challenge as it is landing them. Right,
Yeah, that's a challenge with Tenkara.
bringing them to you. And I know with spay, you know usually tail them or something. But if you're looking at smaller fish, that would present a unique challenge. Right, I never see a tenkara person with a net.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
how you doing that?
yeah. I have a net, but I've learned to. Luckily, my Tenkara floats, so I have to drop the Tenkara and hand line the fish into my net. So that's how I land the big ones. There's no other way. There's no other way. You can't bring the rod far back enough to net a fish.
Yeah.
So you have to grab the line and drop the rod and hand line it in.
I was so excited to take a friend of mine fishing who Tenkara guy, and he hooks into this really nice cutthroat up here where we were, and he's yelling for me to come take his rod, and I'm like, what is this, a team effort? We're gonna you And so I ended up holding his rod while he landed the fish. I'm like, this is interesting. You better fish with a buddy or throw your rod on shore and whatever. But
yeah, they float, so I just let go of it and grab the line. That's how I do it.
That's pretty cool. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's all awesome. I'm really thrilled that you were able to walk us through your evolution of how you went from gear and kind of as a kid fly fishing all the way up to where you are now. Which, yeah, you're in the ether, buddy. You're out. You're at a different level, and that's cool. So, let me ask you this: What do you see yourself having a particular mission or purpose, in doing what you do? Do you see it that way?
I do now.
Okay.
I mean, coming from a competitive angle of things, obviously there was a lot of secrecy going on. There was a lot of stealth fishing. There was, you had to. You were competing. So, but now I'm at a place where, been there, done that, and I just love to share. I love sharing everything that I do. I want people to be successful. So there's no holding back. Every technique I do, every strip I make, if it's anything that I think would help someone else catch a fish, I'm gonna share it. Even spots. Now that has gotten me into big trouble. Now that social media has exploded. But you know what? I don't care. I really don't. And you look at my Instagram feed, and you can see all the smiles and the hundreds of folks that I've brought down to the LA River, for example, or fishing the surf. The other people can just,
Yeah.
I have words for that. But
Well, one of the words that my close friend has for that is, gatekeeping, and how that just drives them absolutely crazy. And it's been around a long time, right? You talk to people and they say, oh yeah, I caught 30, I got 40, I got this big fish and that big fish. And then when asked where, they go, well, I'm not going to tell you. And I'm definitely not going to take you. Or if I take you, I'm going to blindfold you and drive you there and then put the blindfold on to take you out. It sounds like you're absolutely against that kind of thinking.
Now, I won't burn a spot if someone tells me, "Hey, I want you to fish an area, but keep it on the down low." That's different.
Yeah.
But if I find a spot, and I always tell folks when I bring them down there, I go, "Look, this is now your spot, but whatever you do, please don't write a map with X marks the spot and start handing it out to people. If someone approaches you and says, 'Can you please take me carp fishing on the LA River?' Okay, do me a favor, you take them, but don't just tell them where to go."
Mm-hmm.
That's the only request. That's the only thing I want, and everyone is totally fine with that. And it's great to see, because sometimes I'll go to a spot where I'm hoping it's going to be available, and if it's not, chances are I'm going to know the folks that are fishing there, which is great.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's always disheartening when you walk up to a spot you were hoping you were going to get and someone's standing there. But you might as well know the person and say, cheer them on, you know? So I don't know. There's people see it a whole bunch of different ways. There's a lot of folks out there who, like you said, the gatekeepers who feel like, you know, they're the only ones that can catch the fish and everyone just has to learn from them. And that's unfortunate. There's people that should know better than that. But
Yeah.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
that just seems to be this case right now.
Yeah. It is kind of a sad thing. And another thing that I know you're aware of, because you've been doing this for a long time, most of us have been doing it a long time, is when, especially talking to folks like us, you know, black and brown folks, there's two things that we tend to have that present themselves as the biggest challenge. Economics, right? Like, I can't afford to do that. And elitism. They, from my experience, people associate fly fishing, right? I've had friends flat say, "Man, that's a white thing," you know, that's not for us. And so, do you ever run across that? And when you do, how do you handle that whole
You know,
elitism thing?
yeah, I growing up, I didn't have their most expensive things. I mean,
Mm.
I grew up in again fishing L.A. I was fly fishing at Lincoln Park in the gut of L.A. When I first started. I mean, that was my fly rod was no great fly rod. I'm sure it was. I remember it. Um, but with any sport you get into, it's no different. I mean, there's going to be some pretty high end, and sky's the limit right now. But in the beginning, gosh, I didn't have the best equipment, but I got it done.
Mm-hmm.
It was only until I started getting recognition and starting to get sponsors that I started getting the better quality stuff. But you don't really need all of that. I mean, it's I remember getting a Fenwick glass rod off a rack when I was younger, and it was this. When I think about it now, how it casted was good Lord. I don't even know how I casted that thing, but I managed.
Yep. Yep.
But it was cheap. I mean, it was very inexpensive.
Right. Right.
So, but nowadays it varies.
Right. Right. Yeah, and I know you're very passionate about getting people, and I know you work with young folks down there, um, getting them on the water. And I definitely see, and I'm sure you do too. There's a movement, right? And it's because of people like you and Annalisa and so many others that have put in the time and have a passion for passing this love affair we have with this thing called fly fishing that is really helping that next generation, right, or even the current generation, get a chance to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever we do, it's kind of, in hopes it's for the greater good. That I told someone recently, this young black kid who was talking to about fly fishing. I said, you know what, I really want you to replace me. That's my motive here. I want you to be the next river warrior and an environmental activist, and that's my goal for you. And they were like shocked, like, no, I want to play in the NBA. Like, well, all right, but give that a go. But at some point, I'd love for you to get serious about this, and whatever people like of the Linos of the world and Heather Hodsons of the world can do, know that we're here for you when that comes. But just like you seeing the smile, seeing the spark, the gleam in the eye, like, wow, I did that. I cast 20 feet, and then hopefully catch their first fish. It's priceless, right?
It really is.
Yeah. So, what would you say is the biggest, besides those two things? Do you see any other particular challenges in your experience, things that you could share with others to hopefully avoid, or whatever, some insight on how to move forward with this thing called fly angling, especially for folks like us? Is there any words of wisdom, insight you can think of to pass along?
You know what? I would say just go out and have fun. Don't be so worried about what other people are thinking. You know, social media has been a blessing and a curse for
Yes.
me.
Yes.
In the beginning, I got a lot of heat for just the way I fished, where I fished, how I fished, and it was very troubling.
Hmm.
But through the years, I've learned to ignore all of that, and I realized that people want to learn. Don't be afraid to reach out to folks on social media and ask questions. You'll be
Hmm.
surprised how many people are willing to share. And
Hmm.
that's me. People shoot me messages all the time, and that's how I've met so many folks. That's the blessing. I've met so many people from all over the world that I've been able to fish with, um, and gotten to know. I'm really, really good friends with so many of them now. And it's all because of social media,
Yeah.
and that's I think that's been that's what has made my life. That's what has made fly fishing great for me. Is
Hmm.
I am not one that's going to be so stiff and say I'm not sharing. Go catch your own fish and just post pictures of myself, holding fish. I want to share the joy of someone else that I just met,
Absolutely.
and it's such a great feeling. I mean, how can you not feel something when you see someone I just literally met catching their first carp on the LA River, or catching a corvina for the first time. It's just, oh, it blows my mind that people don't want to encourage more of that.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
there's still those folks out there who just don't see it that way, and it's unfortunate. And
Yeah.
people in the community, fly fishing community is actually a pretty small community if you think about it, right? And people
Yes.
talk.
Yeah.
So, it's like people know who's who in the industry. And as long as people are willing to reach out, it makes me feel good because I'm going to share. And I love being considered a mentor to a lot of people. And it's so great to see. It's so
Yeah.
great to see. So I would say, just get out, have some fun, share some of your knowledge. That's how people get hooked. Don't be afraid to share, and just take people fishing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm
Yeah.
totally with you 100%. And also lately, I've been myself encouraging young folks to find a group to belong to so that you're not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily alone. I mean, if you like being alone, that's one thing, but find some friends or find people on social media to connect with, to talk to share ideas and places and all of that. Expand your horizons a little bit because there's a lot of us out there now that didn't used to be visible. Let's put it that way. At least that's the way I think about it. We've always been out there doing this thing, right? We've always been in the backcountry. We've always been fly anglers and fishing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we tend to been invisible much of the time. Now, thanks, what you said, social media, the invisibles become visible. So take advantage
That's
of
right.
social media by connecting. I tell the story all the time. The first time since I left home, I grew up in an all black neighborhood in an all black um, area, and I only fished with black folks. My parents, my uncles, my cousins, our friends. I hunted with them. I fished with them. Never with a white person. Never. So I ended up in Colorado and early, and
Mm-hmm.
never went back east to my home again. But it was many decades before I met seriously. And matter of fact, I can tell you exactly when it was. It was like 6 years ago. I'm on Instagram, and there all of a sudden up pops Lale Johnson holding a big steelhead with a spey rod behind his neck, and I immediately messaged him, and he got back to me in 10 minutes. He's a pro guide, and he got back to me in 10 minutes. I said, man, I'm so glad to see you. And that's really what started this whole Ubuntu thing, and Carl and I getting together and where we are now is just
Amazing.
seeing a face that looked like mine doing what I love to do. It's like
Right.
I am not going to pass up an opportunity to reach out. And so social media, you're absolutely right. It's both a blessing, it can be a bit of a curse too, because we can lean on it too much and crazy things can happen. But I totally love what your message to say, get out there, have fun, don't care what other people are saying or thinking about you, and put some other people in your quiver, like the Linos of the world. And if something comes up, call and say, how did you handle this situation or that? Because we probably have all had those types of situations come up, or challenging situations come up, So that's awesome.
I love what people are doing in the industry. I mean, like Heather, oh my goodness. You talk about a pioneer of, oh my gosh.
Yes.
She has just brought so many people together and just has this greater vision. And that's what I'm talking about. It's like blows my mind away. It's well beyond my vision. I mean, she travels and spreads the word.
Yes. Yeah.
And she's an amazing individual. And Lisa, same way. They're just, you want to talk about an influencer. I mean, these people, that's what they are.
Yes.
And it's for the greater good for the fly fishing community.
Yeah. I always say to Heather, I'm just trying to keep up with you, because she's always out there promoting the sport.
This podcast you're doing, it all contributes to that. You know what I mean? It just opens the door so much wider.
Yeah.
And for opportunities and it's so great.
Yeah.
That fly fishing is, I always compare it to like all the sporting events. Fly fishing is like the golf of,
Yeah.
Because it really is. I mean, you've got this sort of a different way compared to all the other sports out there that golf is carried, but yet it's, it has a big outreach to little kids, to, groups, and it's just fundraising, and it's such a great, fly fishing is such a great community. I mean, it really is.
I'm glad you said that, because I mentioned to my wife when I was going to buy yet a new fly rod, and I actually used golf. I said, babe, you got more than a putter in your golf bag. Come on. You got a driver, exactly. You got a wedge, you got a, so one more rod. I just need this one more. She said, you said it the last 3 times, right? But people are playing now who started playing when they were young are not using their same clubs. So thank you for bringing that up. I'm going to mention that to her tonight, that Lino said that I need another club. I need a club. Right. One last thing. I don't want to keep you, because I know you're extremely busy, and I appreciate your time. You told a funny story about, because I was asking you earlier before we were able to work out some glitches here, that I really enjoy watching your videos. And I remember I mentioned, well, who's your videographer? And you had me. But you told a funny story about your phone. And I thought, if you would share that, that'd be awesome. I just think
it's not even the first time that's happened. But I am, like I was telling you, I'm not very techy at all. And GoPros intimidate me. I just don't go there. So all my videos are on my cell phone, and I carry a tripod around. Tripod serves also as a rod holder, because I can bring multiple rods and lean it up against. It works out. Problem is when I'm recording myself and the wind blows too hard. The tripod will tip over, and then my phone goes into the water, and that's happened a couple times. And the 2 times that it's happened, both times were the camera hit the bottom facing up, so you could see me trying to reach down and grab the phone. It's pretty comical. But this last spring, I had to actually go in the water, and I spent I know how long I spent. I spent over 20 minutes diving for this thing until I finally put my hands on it and brought it back up. Luckily, I had a hard case, a waterproof case over it, so I could see that the recording was still going on, but it was underwater for over 29 minutes. So, but it worked fine. It captured me trying to get it, and then when I finally went in, it just because of the mud. But that's unfortunate, but that's happened, and
well,
price you pay.
I'd like for you to post that on Instagram, the video of you swimming for your. Did you?
Oh, no, I couldn't. No one recorded me swimming, but every other part of it I got.
That is.
I'll share it to you. I'll send it to you.
Send it to me, because that's an amazing story. And my wife knows I'm notorious for drowning phones. I'll put them in my waders, and then I'll end up wading too deep. And next thing I reach in and pull it, my wader pocket is full of water. Like, wow, there's another. But they tell me now that the phones are much better. I'm just too cheap to buy an expensive phone. So I have a model that I took in the other day, and the technician said I wasn't trained on on this version of your phone. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. But anyway, they were able to fix it. But it's crazy, the technology. But that's an awesome story of videoing your phone is on the bottom of the river, and that you had to swim for it. You could see it landed right. Right. Well, that's awesome. Well, Lino, you're an amazing person. I know that you were a part of the documentary on fishing the LA River. I know that you've been written about in fly fishing magazines and such. You're an incredible champion of this sport and a real model, a real mentor to look up to, even though I've got you in age by probably 25 years or more. But I really look up to you, and I admire the work that you're doing and the passion you have for this sport. And it's because of people like you, no joke, it's because of people like you and so many others that there will be I'm confident that there will be another generation of us coming along who are as gracious, as kind, and generous as you are and others are, and give back to this amazing thing that we do, and work to protect it, because that's another element, working to protect what we love.
Absolutely.
And the species we love and all of that. It's going to take intentionality. So I really appreciate your passion and what you do, and the fact that you gave up some time to sit with me, man, because this is as close as we've been in a while. Like I say, even though Heather brought us together with Fly Fish Instruct,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that day to get down there, bro. I really am.
Anytime.
Now, Carl will tell you that I'm not likely to go surf fishing with you. I got a phobia about that. I don't know. I don't like being out there with things that can eat me and sting me. I just got a thing about. But any other place, no, I'll do that. I just give him a bad time about swimming with sharks and catching sharks. Like the other day, I caught a shark and you catch stingray and crazy stuff. Like no. Uh, I don't get that. But well, I love it, man. Thank you so much
Thank
for your
you.
time and energy. It's been great to hang with you.
Absolutely. It's been a lot of fun chatting, and can't wait to actually fish with you.
I look forward to it. So thank you for listening, everyone. You can also watch each episode on our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram at Ubuntu Fly Anglers on Instagram and UbuntuFlyAnglers.com on Facebook. You can also message me directly at UbuntuFlyAnglers@gmail.com. So thanks, everyone, for listening and watching. See you next time. Tight lines.